is the Rangers Journal Night.
Welcome to your latest episode of the Rangers Journal Tactical Breakdown. Today we're taking a look at that first leg v Panathaniakos. Obviously came out of that as a 2-0 win. I think there's probably good bits and bad bits to be taken from that, and we'll get to that as we go through the video. Pleased to say I have been joined by Ross today. First time on the tactics side. Ross, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Dave, yourself?
Yeah, good. Pretty happy that we got that lead to take over there. I think that could prove to be vital. I think we've seen a lot of times when we have gone a man up that we've kind of actually struggled a bit more following that. So it was really good to see the team kind of kick on and go for the jugular in that one, I think. So first up, what we're going to do is have a look at driving to the byline, something that was actually called out in the pre-match kind of look ahead to the game that the Journal published. I think you can see here, Curtis has found himself in a really good bit of space. I don't think that's accidental. He's kind of found that space himself. You can see their back line is very tight and congested. They're trying to keep it through the middle. Obviously, they don't want us hitting that byline and stretching the game in that way. So let me just play this for you, Ross. I don't know if you saw that in the run-up to it. It was just that wee shuffle backwards. He's just kind of taking himself out to the sideline a wee bit so that he can make that run. Now, I noticed this quite a bit through the game. Is this something you picked up on, Ross?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of stuff that Martin wants. I've noticed a wee bit different, Mark, for the other managers. I feel like that first game, you kind of noticed what Martin wants from his players. I'm quite it's good because it is different ideas.
That's it, and it's something I think we've sorely needed, isn't it? Really. Too often last season we'd come up against these low blocks and we just seem bereft of ideas. So I think that was probably a key factor in why they've recruited Martin, is to implement this kind of style.
Yep.
So let me just play this one on. Now, this is something that the wingers were doing all night, and I mean, as everyone will know, it ultimately led to our 2 goals, but it's this cutting in to the middle. Now, it wasn't going to be Curtis himself cutting in this scenario, but we can see here you've got Dio plus another, can't quite make out the number, and they're just perched waiting for that ball into the channels. Now, again, that is something that I've noticed is quite a recurring theme. We spoke last season about no real patterns of play, no identifiable style. I think, and I mean, it's early days, because obviously this was the first competitive game, but I think we're starting to see that here. What's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, what if you look from last season, it's kind of thing, it's missing the play. It didn't feel like the players were prepared for that next step. So again, whether Russell's come in and implemented that plan, again, I said it is the first competitive match, but I noticed a big difference with the players' position and where to be, etc. So yeah, I feel like it's been good that we've hired Russell. I said it's only the first match, but it's good. Hopefully, we'll learn from what we did on Tuesday night.
Absolutely, and I think over time this will mature. We will start to see that kind of bigger impact of his style. So let's just play this through. Ultimately, what happens is Curtis hits the byline. And what I really liked here, I'm just going to draw it back a second or two, is we can see here, right? Hamza Igman's been quite intelligent here, I would say. Striker's instinct is normally to drive in. You can see here, Dessers has got himself firmly in that kind of 5-yard space, hoping for a crossball and a tap in.
Yeah.
I think Igman has shown a wee bit of intelligence just to hold back that bit more. Would you agree with that, Ross?
Yeah, so I feel like it's what with Dessers, so defenders are confident on Dessers. Then Igman's coming in the back. So again, I just feel it's a kind of a Russell tactic, to be honest. Some have seen before that never ever worked out. So I said it's good that Agaman's not really getting tracks. It's kind of what for us with the cross.
Yeah.
You know, again, I don't know what's training work with Russell or what, but yeah, we just feel like it's working in our favour. Hopefully, even Wednesday night, got a couple of early goals.
That's absolutely it, mate. And I think another key thing that we picked out when we did a breakdown on Martin was, okay, in this case it's Hamza Igman, but this is very much a trait of Martin's style of football.
Yeah,
Normally it's the midfielders making those kind of later runs, almost like a rejig of Scotty Arfield back in the day, but
well, yep,
he
yep.
is quite dependent on those mids coming in, just like Igman has here. Okay, so ultimately, this one doesn't get scored. Igman does make a good effort, and I think there it's a really good example of playing into that space, which Martin doesn't just want robots. I think again we saw with Clement, he was very rigid. He had a style, and that must be adhered to. I think with Martin there is a bit more flexibility in there. There's still a system that they have to play
Yeah, yeah,
within. But ultimately, there is that wee bit more kind of variety there. I think sometimes, we've shown cutting to the byline here, which absolutely is a viable tactic, especially in Scotland. Um, what we also saw in that same game, though, and we'll come to that in a wee bit with the two goals, was players cutting inside as well. There's just that bit more variation rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
I will just hoof it up the pitch and hope for the best.
Yes, that felt like come on. As you said, with Martin, the players have got a wee bit more flexibility. As you said, they're opening up a lot more run. Come on, you're in this position, don't move, kind of thing. So if you look at the defenders going very high as well. I know it's not with Martin. Again, I don't know. I haven't watched Martin's clubs in the past. I don't know if that's Martin's way. But even I'm like, wow, defenders are really high. But if that's working, brilliant. So hopefully it's a way forward for us.
That's it, mate. That's it. Okay, so we've had a look at cutting back from the byline now. I want to get this one out of the way, right? This is
Yep.
with the negative one, if you will. So I'm just going to that. So this is defending a free kick. All right.
Yep.
Now, if I just play this on a second, you get quite a good visual line there. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that for me, with itself, we're pretty far out from the box there.
Yeah.
The risk associated to this, and I think that's the really key thing here is there is risk in Martin's football, and we have to come to accept that.
Yep.
We probably are going to lose stupid goals now and again, and well, you'll be tearing your hair out. I won't because I've not got any. But so what happens here is really interesting. So obviously everyone runs back. You can
Yep.
see they've just kept two players I've highlighted there.
Mm-hmm.
They're just hanging back, and the reason for that is they're waiting for the ball to come back out to them. So let me just show you that again. Right there. So we've now got a very congested box here, and I think the thing that stands out for me that you hear a lot when you defend in either crosses or free kicks, and they talk about zonal or positional market.
Yep.
What we've got here is a mix of the two, I would suggest. I think there's absolutely some man marking going on in this one. But these kind of three players just in front are much more about defending the space. So it's like he's adapted a kind of version of them both. Would you
Yeah.
agree with
Yeah.
that, Ross?
Yeah. Totally. Again, it's just really, as you said, there are going to be mistakes with Martin's position. It is going to take a while for players to get used to it, but hopefully we don't lose as many stupid goals as you say. It's
Yeah.
just really doing what Martin wants. But if you look back in the line, if you look at, for example, Tavernier, I don't know if that's just Tavernier doing his thing or again Martin instructing him what to do.
Yeah.
We get very lucky with Jack Butland and goals. Very lucky on Tuesday night.
Oh, 100%,
You
mate.
know,
And I think you can discuss whether Tab's kind of had a brain fart or he's doing what Martin wants. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
actually Tav, I mean, he's absolutely to blame for letting that cross come in, and we'll see that in a second. Jack Butland, as you rightly said, completely saves us here. Otherwise, it could have been a very different game. But actually, I would suggest the worst defending was neither. It was Finlay Curtis, and I'll show you that in a minute.
Yep.
So you see here, player takes it for a run. Tav's a wee bit slow to get out, I would say. And probably, don't know about you, but for me, I'd be looking for him to be a wee bit more aggressive at trying to stop that ball coming in.
Yeah, actually making more of an effort, you know. Again, you look back, come on, let's go back to come on kind of thing, you're right back, don't move. You know, this kind of thing is, so I expect Tab to be right out there to stop the ball. I don't want it going 18-yard line and then Tab make an effort. You know, if it looks it's going down the line, I want Tab right out there to stop it. You know?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense, mate. And I think here, if I just play it on a wee sec, I just want to show you this as well.
Yeah.
Now, no one's take anything away from the man. He did do a cracking job overall in this game. But I think this will definitely be a moment that the coaching staff will be feeding back to him. So we can see here, not only, I mean, he is goal side, technically, but he's that much further forward. Now, I don't know if you can see these wee red lines here. That's his kind of vision. And it's almost like he's been sucked into the ball. He's coming a wee bit further forward towards where that ball's coming in, totally unaware he's got this lad right behind him.
Yeah.
And just by moving, you can see this red arrow here, just by moving slightly to there, that actually would have put him in a far better position to stop this shot. So I'll play that on. You can see that he basically had a free hit. Now, Curtis is young, right? And I think we need to accept that there's going to be mistakes in his game, right?
Yeah.
It's not just going to suddenly all click and he's going to be a superstar. But again, I think this is something that can be used as a kind of learning experience for him. Ultimately, didn't come to anything. We're probably incredibly lucky looking at that still there. So what would your words be for Curtis if you were trying to kind of feed this back and teach him to improve?
So I would, again, I expect the skipper to speak to him, kind of thing, like, what could you do better, kind of thing. Now, nothing worse, as you said, just kind of get left to it. He's going to learn, hopefully he will learn from the mistakes. But we did get very lucky about a different conversation if the goal did go in.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And I think to be fair as well, that resilience is probably key in a young player. I mean, if I'm being honest, right, the boy is young, but he's a professional footballer. I'm pretty damn sure in this exact moment he knows he's messed up, right? And he probably knows he's incredibly lucky that Butland has saved his blushes, but it didn't impact him. He still drove on, still kind of went for it, and ultimately got his goal as reward. So
I don't know.
I think there's definitely lessons to learn. Yep.
So I don't know if kind of thing. He knows he's kind of messed up. So he wants to go out to make up for it, As you being a professional footballer.
Exactly that, mate. Exactly that. Okay, so I'll let that play out just because it's an amazing save by Butland. And that's the end. So the final thing I wanted to look at before we got to the goals is kind of based on some of the social media stuff I've been seeing. Now, I've seen folk kind of panning the fact that the fullbacks are inverting some of the time. Now, it's not a constant thing. They are still playing up the wing as well. But again, it's that variation in play that we're talking about. Now, this is a pretty standard kind of setup playing out from the back. You've got your two centre backs furthest back. Tav's just a bit ahead of them on the right wing there. And what we're going to see here, mate, is Tav inverting to be an out ball for the midfield. So I play that. Cuts in, out ball, back. Now suddenly you've created a very different situation just by Tav cutting in. Now, these arrows signify where the players could go. Actually, before Tav inverted, I would argue this bottom Panathaniakos player should be the one attacking the centre back rather than the midfield. But I think Tav coming in has just pulled them out of shape a wee bit. And it's just enough here, right? We can see Raskin at the very bottom of our screen. He's he's kind of angled his body differently, so he's not got that kind of zoomed in, focused area of vision. He can swivel his head and he can see right, see the pass come in, but he can also immediately start firing out towards the left flank.
Yep.
He's kind of freed up, I would argue, because Tafa's inverted and it's kept these guys in their press. They're a bit unsure. What do I do now? I'm not expecting him. So, again, would you say this is a hallmark of Martin? Have you kind of seen
Yeah.
Martin before he came here?
As I said, I haven't seen Martin before Ibrox, but the kind of thing I said it confused the Panathaniakos players. I feel like the only kind of player that knew what was happening was Nico Raskin. Like if you look, for example, I believe John Searle's still kind of sitting there. You don't, kind of go forward left. But yeah, I kind of work for us Tuesday night, so hopefully I get watch for us again on Wednesday. If that's the way Martin wants to play, the players are going to have to get used to it. So indeed,
And
the gaffer.
I think again we've kind of spoken about this a lot through this pod. I think the variation is key. I think if he's doing this all the time, teams adapt, they get used to it. If he's doing this sparingly and also driving up the wing, it's a very different proposition because these midfield don't know really where to press. It becomes harder for them to judge the triggers for the press because you could very well have a player involved you weren't even counting on being there. So it can cause a lot of havoc, I would suggest. So ultimately, Rothwell plays the ball through to Raskin, which is a good spot. And then if you look here, the space he's got to drive into, and I think this is where Martin talks about aggression and intensity, right? You've got your tippy-tappy stuff to play your way out of that danger, play from the back, which is fine, a bit of heart and mouth moment at times, but that, as you say, that's how he wants to play. But the real key is when you do get it out, it's been aggressive and how you kind of push forward. So are you generally in favour of fullbacks inverting, or is it something you don't like to see? Where do you stand on it all?
I like it, but I like it. I don't like it if it works for us. Brilliant. But if the defenders are doing that, I want some midfielders to hang back to assist with the defenders. Again, with Warfare 6, kind of thing, I don't want him running forward. I want him to kind of stay back to assist the Riser, for example. So, yeah, it's kind of thing. It's good if it works. It's bad if it doesn't.
Aye, 100%, mate, 100%. It's like most things, isn't it? If you're winning games, you don't really care too much. Okay, so let's look at the goals then. I'm going to go with the Finlay Curtis one first. Firstly, just worth pointing out, super chuffed for him to actually get that first competitive goal in Europe. Big night for the wee man. I think the other thing that stands out here, so this is the very start of the move. It doesn't really look like there's an awful lot on at this point. The team kind of build it themselves. And again, this goes back to those comments about intensity for me. I think one of the key intensity points is that ability to get it forward and get on the attack as soon as possible. So let me just play this one. Aaron's terrible. Okay.
Yeah, he got a very good game of foul.
This is not great, right? So I'm just going to stop it there. We've ultimately conceded a pretty poor choice. Think Aaron's probably has a lot to answer for in that. First touch of Dessers, for God's sakes. But the team do recover. And again, it's that resilience. Now, what I'm going to show is just how quickly this goes from a really bad defensive situation to a goal. So Butland plays it. You can see there he's bowled it straight out. Get it forward again. Curtis drives for the space. And then, wonder goal. Cracking finish. But I think the key for me is the intelligence of the players, just to realise exactly where they are. So I'm just going to bring this back again. So So we can see there he's already missed out kind of the just by
Yeah, yeah.
bowling it out to the wing. Now we've got a bit of space and we're going to drive into it. But immediately sees the opportunity to get it further forward again. So let me just play that. And then again, it's that use of space that we were talking about.
Yep.
Right. In theory, there's no way Curtis should get a shot off here.
No.
If these players closed him down quickly enough, he wouldn't. But it's not great defending by Panathaniakos, I would suggest. And it is clever use of the space. So again, we just see him cut in there. He gets his shot away. Now, what do you make of that, especially the speed that we kind of took it from back to front?
Yeah, it's a big difference as well. Come on, that kind of thing. I like it going fast pace. I don't like kind of just kicking the ball around the midfield for the defender for no reason. I just feel like it was good play, very intelligent. Again, if you look at Curtis, he shouldn't have as much as an easy shot, as you said. But we'll take it. Again, as you come back to Curtis, kind of knew he was a mistake before, so he wanted to make up for his mistakes. It was a cracking goal for the young lad, so brilliant for him,
Yeah, that's it. And what a way to make up for your mistake as well.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And you can see there just how much it means to him.
How
I
much
mean,
it means,
that's what
yeah.
I do love about it. So, swiftly moving on, young Curtis makes his name known. Gassama even did it quicker, I would suggest. He'd been on the pitch about a minute and a half before he scored this goal. And again, I think what's really interesting for me here is just the speed that we go from basically being at our corner flag right the way up to him scoring. So you can see here, Aaron's actually in his natural position, wins the ball. That is a super intelligent pass for me. He's identified again the space that's there, and he's almost played the ball into it, knowing that one of our players is coming back. So you can see there, Igman gets the ball. Now, I'm just going to play this on a sec. You see here, there's actually a ton of space here now. Again, we're angling away from the Panathinaikos press, right? You can see with his body shape that he's actually heading off up towards the left. Igman kind of recognizes this, skips the ball to him, and you can just see these three players. And I think before what would have happened is maybe one of our players would be level with the ball, but over at the touchline, right? And the ball would have been passed there, and then it would have been cut back to allow some other players time to run up. I think one thing that's key is Martin is not going to take slow passive football like that, right? So I'll let this play through again a bit more. You can see where the ball's going into space. Now, I think what's really key here for me is the run that Raskin makes, right? Obviously, Gassama, amazing goal, right? Nobody's going to argue with that. It was an incredible goal. But I actually think where Raskin, he doesn't score it. Because Raskin keeps making that move, he just keeps these defenders occupied for me. So you can see their centre-back follows Raskin. The boy that's beside him just now looks a bit kind of caught in two minds. I don't think he really knows what to do. And ultimately does nothing. And then, again, an absolutely amazing finish for Gassama. So I would suggest those two goals were actually pretty close together. Would you agree with that, Ross?
Yeah.
And if so, why?
Yeah, so again, two goals just sort of play with what Martin expects. So for the second goal, for example, I love the fact that it started from Behrens' actual position. I believe he cannot play left back, in my opinion. He made far too many mistakes, quite scary mistakes at the time. But the fact is, going back and actually the play, as you said, defenders are looking at Raskin. This letting Gassama do what Gassama does. You know, it was beautiful play. You wouldn't see that last season for Rangers. You see just slow, boring passes. You know, it's kind of last season was kind of it is boring watching Rangers. You know, and it's only been a couple of games, but I'm excited for the season. You know, hopefully Martin's philosophy will help us, even as a fan, to feel more entertained. Watching the club, you know. So yeah, it was really good play, 2 cracking goals.
And I think the key as well, again, we touched on it, is that intensity to get forward.
Yeah.
It's something that he spoke about after the Middlesbrough friendly, basically intimated, especially in the first half, he didn't see enough of it.
Yeah.
And I think you can see the difference there. You know, yes, these were in the second half as well, but the goals that we scored in the Panathaniakos second half, for me, embolise kind of what Martin's all about, what he wants to see. I think the key now for me is getting the players consistently doing that. So that's all we've got to look forward to for today. I think I was going to ask you, Ross, what would you say that we need to look out for in the second half, and what, if anything, that we've shown here, do you think we should see more of in that second half, apart from the goals, obviously?
Yeah. So again, the second half, I said the defenders coming in, I feel like that can help the club, you know, help the team. And I just really feel like we need to keep an eye on the wide area next Wednesday. As you said, it was too easy, very lucky. I believe anybody else was in goals, it would have been a goal. You know, it's the kind of thing. Just really looking for the mistakes that could have cost us on Tuesday. That hopefully won't come back to bite us in the bum on Wednesday, you know. So hopefully, any issues, like I said, a quick goal or two, relax, you know, and then we don't have to panic passes, that kind of thing, you know.
I think for me, defensively is probably still the worry.
Yes.
I think, as you say, you know, there was a few examples there, even, and that's the highlights, for God's sake. That's not the whole game, but there was a few examples of where maybe we could have done better, I would suggest.
Yeah, they're very lucky, yeah.
I do wonder what that defensive line's going to look like.
Yes.
I think there's probably a bit of a debate that we still maybe need another centre back for me.
Yeah.
I'm just not fully convinced by our options at the minute. I think they're fine as part of a squad, but having them as, you know, the starting lineup for me, I think a bit dicey. And I guess more than anything, it's just time on the training pitch, right? Again, we said this on the first breakdown that we did in Martin, and I think it's probably been said on 100 pods since. It's a totally different style of football to anything these guys played last year. And it's going to take time to get those ideas in, because it is about intelligence. I remember him talking about it was one of the pre-season games, and Dow put a really daft ball out towards the right for another player, and he totally messed it up. But basically, what Martin said was the intent was basically where Dow was, there was no way he was scoring from there. It was a really, really low XG. So he played it out to the wing to try and improve that XG, so it was a better chance. Now, that kind of thing, you can't just say it to someone and they do it, right? It's going to take them time to understand it, to get to grips with it. And I do think there's probably going to be a few shaky results, but if ultimately that runs into a free-flowing attacking football, then all for it. Okay, so that's everything today. If you have enjoyed what you've heard, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Other than that, Ross, thank you very much for joining me for your debut. It was a pleasure to have you, mate. And for those watching, please remember, every night's a Rangers Journal night.